All right, hi everyone. I wanted to do a little video today just to look at the Red Hot Chili Peppers album from 2004. It's a live album called Red Hot Chili Peppers Live in Hyde Park. And the reason why I wanted to look at this album is specifically because I want to look at this version right here that I have in my hands, which is a bootleg version of the album that has recently popped up for sale on the internet. I know of at least one retailer, Roland Records, which is where I got this from, is selling this, and I think as well a few copies have also showed up on eBay and Discogs as well, if I'm not mistaken. The reason why I wanted to look at this album was just to open it in front of you, show you what's inside, give you kind of a tour of the sleeves and the LPs that are inside, as well as my commentary and experience on the album. And I wanted to compare that as well with this version right here, this other version that I have here. And this is an original pressing, German pressing, of the same album from 2004, which I purchased off of Discogs probably about 5 or 6 years ago now. Paid a steep price for it, but it was a cool album. Is a cool album. And so I want to compare and contrast those two versions of the same album because they are very different in a number of ways. But we'll get to that. So basically what I want to do, this is the bootleg version right here, and I'll just open it and I'll just kind of give you a tour of it and give you my commentary as well. So I keep my albums in a plastic sleeve, so there's that. When I received the album, it came in a cardboard mailer, and it was in shrink wrap and had a little sticker in the corner that said like limited edition on white vinyl. The vinyl actually isn't like pure white. It's actually more like a cream color. And so I'm just grabbing one of the discs here. It's like a cream color, and I don't know, it might be harder to tell on the camera, but if you look at the ceiling behind me, that's just a plain white, flat white ceiling, and so this album right here that I'm holding in my hand is a slightly kind of milkier color, almost has a bit of yellow hint to it, so that's the color. So basically, this bootleg version of the album came with 3 discs. So, and the discs are housed in a paper sleeve that has a plastic lining on the inside. So there's a second disc right there, and the third disc. So now I'm just left with the sleeve right here. And one glaring difference between this bootleg version and the original version right off the bat is that it's just a plain sleeve. Like the original one, the original one from 2004 is a big gatefold, and it opens up to this really kind of lovely photo, an aerial photo of London, kind of central London with Hyde Park, and you can see all the crowd. This one does not. This one just does not open, although it is a fairly thick sleeve. It just doesn't open. And then when you look closely at the sleeve, there's a couple of things that I noticed right off the bat. One is that it's especially visible when you look at the writing here by Anthony Kiedis. It's actually quite pixelated. And I don't know how easy that is to tell on the camera there, but I'll try and put it up there. But, you know, it's quite pixelated. I can kind of see ridges, especially in the writing where it meets the white writing meets the black, especially. Another thing that I noticed is that the album cover is slightly cropped. So if you, on the original album, this is obviously an image of the back of Anthony Kiedis, and you can see more of the tattoo on the original pressing, and you can kind of see more of the hair as well. So it's been cropped a little bit, compromised there. Obviously, it's a bit grainy, pixelated, as I said before. Another thing I noticed is that the parental advisory um, is quite large. If you compare it to the original sleeve, if I'll hold both of them up there, you can see the one here that I'm holding here is a very small parental advisory logo. This one is quite large, more in your face, which is interesting. And it's also worth noting that the writing on the parental advisory is not grainy. Okay, so the writing right here, Anthony Kiedis' writing, which is, part of the artwork, that is grainy. I can count the pixels. Kind of looks like a staircase. This one is not. This is crystal clear. The image, Anthony Kiedis' picture of the back here is quite pixelated as well. Especially, you can tell where you see the strands of hair and that sort of thing. I can almost count the pixels. On the back, it's also a little bit different than the original pressing. So the original pressing looks like this. Okay, I think it's Flea, and he's just kind of sitting backstage, something like that. And you have the original track listing there, handwritten by Anthony Kiedis, and it's kind of just superimposed over that kind of funny image of one of the guys there. You get the barcode, and it's not pixelated at all or anything like that. But here on the bootleg version, you have this picture of Anthony Kiedis lying on the ground. That is one of the photos that's included in the regular version, the original version of the Hyde Park. It's just not included as a back version. Back cover version. The other thing that's interesting here is that the track listings for the different LPs in the set, they're kind of written out in a plain kind of typed font, as opposed to Anthony Kiedis' handwriting. So that's another huge difference, which kind of leads me probably to the most striking difference of the two sets, and that is this original version right here. The original version from 2004 is actually a 4 LP set. Okay, so there's 4 LPs. There's 4 vinyl discs in here, and the tracks are very well spaced out. Okay, same album. Okay, same running time. Okay, but now in the bootleg version, they've managed to squish it down into 3 LPs, which is questionable. Because when you start squishing music onto an LP, you're gonna end up with sound quality loss. Okay, 9 times out of 10. That's just a fact. So that's interesting. It was an interesting choice. And yeah. The other thing I'll notice here about this bootleg version is that on the spine, you can kind of see it right there. Is that it's still, again, very different from the spine of the original. They've opted here for some sort of like stock Microsoft cursive font that looks, I guess, kind of a little bit like Anthony Kiedis' writing, but it's really kind of just a sad ripoff because at the end of the day, it really doesn't look anything like Anthony Kiedis' writing. I don't know if you can see that right there. Anthony Kiedis' writing is very unique, and it's become kind of part of the band's image to a certain extent, just because a lot of the times they have recently posted like pictures of the set list and stuff like that, and sometimes in the booklets, like the By the Way booklet and stuff like that, Anthony Kiedis' handwriting is very distinct. So that's just an interesting thing. Whereas here on the original version from 2004, it's written obviously in Anthony Kiedis' handwriting, and not used as a computer font. So that's interesting as well. Inside, because it doesn't open, right? Like I said, there's no gatefold, but inside you have a artwork sheet like this. And mine actually came with two for some reason. Probably wasn't supposed to, but I actually have two artwork sheets there, and then some liner notes and that sort of thing. So that's that. So I'll just look at that really quickly. So here on this side of the liner sheet, you have what is very clearly a scanned copy of one of the images from the original Hyde Park LP or even CD. And it's kind of funny here because down in the corner, for whatever reason, the bootleg maker basically kind of superimposed this random little photo here over top. And for those of you that know the Chili Peppers pretty well, you will recognize that that is very clearly a photo, not from 2004, but from the Stadium Arcadium era. And I think that was, for the longest time, one of the photos on the Chili Peppers Wikipedia page. So it's interesting that that would show up right here, because it kind of gives it away as being a bootleg. But there's so much that kind of gives it away anyway. So I don't think the bootleg maker, whoever did it, I don't even know. I think maybe Rolling Records had something to do with it. But don't quote me on that. But I don't think the bootleg maker is certainly trying to pass it off as something authentic. But maybe just try and give people an opportunity to own the album in the vinyl format, because the Hyde Park album is like, it's out of print. It's super hard to find, unless you have the money. Because it was pressed at a time, it was kind of before that vinyl revival, and there weren't many copies made, and it was an expensive album anyway, being 4 LPs, and the album itself, Live at Hyde Park, wasn't released in every country around the world. It wasn't released in Canada, for example, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't released in the United States either, although it could be wrong, but I do know it had a limited release worldwide. So back to this liner note. So here, that image right there, that's the image that I referred to earlier, kind of that aerial shot of central London, and obviously the crowd right here, to see the Chili Peppers. They've managed, for whatever reason, to, give credit where credit is due. They gave credit to, the band and the people that wrote it, and, people involved in the making and production of the original album. They even gave credit to Warner Brothers, and we're sure to note the copyright from 2004, which is kind of funny because it's a bootleg. So obviously Warner Brothers has nothing to do with the production of the bootleg itself. So that's kind of interesting that they would do that. And that's pretty much it. That's all you get in terms of the artwork for the bootleg version of the album. That's it. And I'll just show you one of the discs here really quickly from the bootleg set. The labels seem to be pretty nicely done. So that gives you an example right there. So you do have Anthony Kiedis' handwriting, which is from the cover right there, Red Hot Chili Peppers Live in Hyde Park. Although instead of using that same handwriting for the track listing, for whatever reason, they've opted to use that same font that we saw on the rear portion of the cover. And so right here you have Right on Time, Parallel Universe, the drum medley, and then Under the Bridge. But again, it's kind of odd because they've put the Warner Brothers logo and noted the copyright and that sort of thing, which is kind of interesting. You think if they're gonna just make a bootleg, that they why give Warner Brothers the copyright and why give them the credit? But I guess it might help to kind of give it a somewhat authentic feel, even though there are obviously a lot of differences. So I'm going to put that one away, and I will pull out some of the original version just to give you an idea of the differences. So put that away. So now here, this is the original version. So again, keep my records in a plastic sleeve because, yeah. So right off the bat, it feels differently. It's glossy, but it's not as glossy. The other one had a real shine to it. It had a bit of a smell as well, like a kind of a printer smell to it, which is interesting. But again, it's vastly different. You have more of the image, like I said, more of the tattoos visible, more of the hair is visible. Parental advisory logo right here is smaller, although it does have a white bar above it, which is kind of a bit of an imbalance in my opinion. But then, strikingly as well, the writing is not pixelated. Seems to be very, clear and scaled appropriately. Likewise, the writing here on the spine, which you can see, again, Anthony Kiedis' handwriting. And then the back, as I mentioned before, Anthony Kiedis' handwriting divided over 4 discs instead of 3. When you open it up, it's a gatefold. Okay, you get that big picture of London right there, which is, probably a better effect in my opinion because you can see more London, you can see kind of more detail of the crowd. And that's that. Basically, when you pull them out, each disc, I have 2 sleeves here, so I'll just explain that. So I don't necessarily like keeping my records in paper sleeves, so I put them in these audiophile sleeves right here just to give them better protection, and especially for this album because it would be very hard for me to replace. But that disc that I just showed you right there does usually go in this paper sleeve. And the paper sleeve, it's plain white on the inside, but on the outside, there's various montage of different photos from Hyde Park. So there's some backstage photos. There's just some kind of candid shots of the band on stage. And these photos as well, these were all the same sorts of photos, and a lot of them were the same photos, I think, or all of them were the same photos that were included in the CD version. And then I'll just pull one of the discs out right here, but so this is the first. So this is the first disc. So you have intro, can't stop, around the world, scar tissue. You have Anthony Kiedis' handwriting, both in the title up above, but also for the tracks below. And again, the only difference is that on the B and A sides of the discs, you have alternating white and black labels. So A side right here with intro and can't stop, I got a black label with white writing. Here I have similar style, but it's a white label and with black writing. The album itself is on pure black vinyl, so not green vinyl, not white vinyl. The other thing that I will mention is the sound quality between the two. Obviously, this original version of Hyde Park from 2004, kind of remains the standard for me, just because I know its whereabouts and I know kind of how it was made and how it was manufactured and that sort of thing. It's all on the up and up. It's all legitimate. I have no, questions that, Warner Brothers tried to rip people off or whatever. And also, if you look at audio samples, the audio is different than the CD version. There's no question about that. For the bootleg version, there are questions about it. And specifically, I question the source of the audio for the bootleg version. Now, I will say, the bootleg version, the audio is, it sounds pretty good, honestly. But it doesn't sound as good as the original version from 2004. But the bootleg does sound pretty good. I believe that the audio from the bootleg version is really just ripped audio from the CD version because it sounds very similar to the CD version. And the other reason why I think that is because at the end of Rolling Sly Stone and the beginning of Throw Away Your Television, which would have been the end of disc 1 on the album and the start of disc 2 on the CD version of the album. There's a strong fade out that isn't there on the vinyl version to that same degree. It's the fade out, if you measure it, it is a 1-for-1 the same as the CD version. So that also leads me to believe that the version used for this bootleg is just the CD version, which really doesn't make it then at the end of the day all that better of an improvement from the CD version. Could be worse, in fact. Doesn't mean it is worse, but it could be, which is interesting. I don't think it's from a stronger source. I'd be hard pressed to believe it's from a stronger source. I believe that the range on the bootleg version, what I can hear, the highs and lows and in the middle, are not as wide dynamically as what I can hear on the original version from 2004. So those are just a few of my thoughts. And yeah, I hope it's informative. And we'll see you next time.